Up here saying some things on the mic. Key, the man has me saying some things on the mic to make some money here.
The looks that I get from Max across from each other are priceless.
Some of the words that come out of my mouth during these reads, I can't believe this. We can say this on the radio even? All right, guys.
What do we got next?
Yeah, what do we got
Key's
next?
observations.
That's right, Key. You have to give us your key observations. How come I haven't said that once? Key observations.
That's all right, man. It's the first day. Don't worry. By the time 2 weeks, you'll be smooth sailing.
I doubt it, but I appreciate the sentiment. So what key observations do we have, Key, from this past week?
Number one.
Well, let's take it away. Oh, okay. So here we go. Good job. Number one, I would say look at Alabama, right? You look at this young quarterback in Bryce Young. Imagine what he did in slicing up the defense. He went 27 to 38, 344 yards, 4 touchdowns.
Oh, good.
The big number, though, is 0 interceptions. So when you look at that, he is for real out of Alabama. Everyone looked at who is he replacing? Mac Jones, Heisman guy. Oh, my God. Tua. Oh, my God. Oh, he's going to be without Devontae Smith. But they just keep rolling along. And now, all of a sudden, this guy is the second coming. They stole him out of our backyard here in Southern California, though.
Number two.
The Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Overrated.
What?
They should overrate it. They should lose that game against a Florida State team that had to bring Mackenzie Milton off the bench to get them engineering drives to score points. If Norvell, the head coach, doesn't do the stupidest thing I could have ever seen, I was screaming at the television set when he decided to go for it on 4th down in a game. In the third quarter, when he's in the game, he just handed Notre Dame 7 points. Why would you ever do that to a team that's so overrated? You gift them a W. And you know I hate Notre Dame. Move on.
Number three.
Wrong.
Number 3, UCLA Bruins. The UCLA Bruins, they just might be legit. Or is LSU frauds? Is Coach O overrated? But I can tell you one thing, UCLA is off to a great start. 2-0. They took care of business against LSU this past weekend. The weekend before, they jumped up and down on Hawaii. I think this team is around the state. They're going to make the Pac-12 conference very, very interesting. The running game for them is ridiculous. The young quarterback in Thompson, Darian Thompson, is coming along in Chip Kelly's offense. I can't believe that I'm saying that UCLA might be legit. Out of all schools, that doesn't even sound right. Move on.
Number four.
Go get that Kevin Love jersey.
Number 4, after watching college football this past weekend, I think the college football playoff really needs to think about that 12-team expansion. Because there's going to be some pretty good teams hanging around toward the end of this year. Although they probably won't do it this year, they can do it in the future. You think about some of the teams that will never, ever have an opportunity to play in the Final Four, but are good squads. I mean, just look at them. There's going to be a lot of good football teams this year. Oregon will be good. USC will be good. Texas will be good. Oklahoma. The ACC conference is done. Don't tell me anything about overrated ACC in North Carolina or Florida State or Miami or, Clemson for that matter.
Number 5.
Speaking of Clemson, number 5, Clemson's reign may actually be over with. For whatever reason, it just feels that way. This is not the Clemson Tigers that we saw run down the hill 4 or 5 years ago. This is a totally different team. You can look at this and tell it's not the same. And I know young quarterback in DJU, but he was supposed to be the second coming of Trevor Lawrence. We watched him against Notre Dame last year, and we said, oh, my God, they're not going to miss a beat. Oh, Clemson's going to be rolling. Not so fast. I think Clemson's in trouble, Max. I think they may be in trouble.
I think that's a hell of a list. Keyshawn Johnson. Key Observations is brought to you by Geico. Whether you rent or own, Geico makes it easy to bundle home and car insurance. Go to geico.com today. Okay, you said a whole lot, and we're going to have to get into Clemson. But, Jay, you objected to a couple things. What's on your mind?
Well, if we're going to sit up here and look, Notre Dame had a double-digit lead. I saw Florida State come back, but maybe Florida State's underrated. Like, I'm not going to sit up here and say Notre Dame is overrated, ranked number 9th in the country. Oklahoma barely beat Tulane. Is Oklahoma overrated? UNC.
Key Oklahoma overrated? Key Oklahoma overrated? Yes or no?
No, Oklahoma's not
They
overrated.
barely beat Tulane. I mean, you're gonna say
Yeah, but that's not. But that's not my point though. Jay, is the man handed him 7 points. So when you hand a team 7, and then all of a sudden you make a decision to go with Mackenzie Milton at quarterback because the other guy helmet came off, and you stuck with him in the fourth quarter, which was a fine situation by Norvell as a head coach, but you decided on fourth down, backed up in your own end, to try and go for it.
In other words, it could have gone
in the beginning of the third quarter when you gift them 7 points.
I hear you, but they were down 18 at one point in the game. I mean,
yes, because I gave them 7.
Jay, when you say, I want to hear it, because to me there's a bigger point whether Notre Dame is ranked 9th or 5th or 11th or 1st. Doesn't matter, right? Notre Dame has a national following because once upon a time they were what Alabama has been, right?
Okay.
Man, when Newt Rockne was coaching?
Long time since
none
then.
of us was born with our ages combined.
Right. It's been a long time. And so they're kind of perpetually overrated, no?
So overrated.
I mean, I don't think so. Frankly, I mean, just watching this team with Jay Cohn, the way he played, the transfer to Wisconsin, Mike Mayer, people are talking about, calling him, I know the term gets used a lot, baby Gronk. You know, NFL scouts, I've heard them make mention of him multiple times. Kyle Hamilton, like who had 2 interceptions, who played his ass off. I've heard professional scouts rave about him. I just don't see him being overrated.
I hear the A word being thrown around. Are we allowed to say that on the radio?
Did you see the quarterback for Florida State throwing the balls to Hamilton? He was throwing
Jordan
floaters.
Travis, yes.
I can get off the hash right now and go get those balls.
But Key,
Come on, Jay.
you can only play who you can play in front of you, though, Key.
Oh, man, stop. Man, I'm not saying that. All I'm saying
So Clemson's
is
overrated
Notre
too?
Dame,
So Clemson's overrated too because they lost to Georgia?
in a minute, so it doesn't even matter.
So Clemson's overrated too because they threw a pick 6 and they lost to Georgia?
I want to get to Clemson.
Because you said they're
actually.
done. You're calling the whole ACC trash.
Hold on. Let's get to Clemson.
Clemson is overrated,
Stop.
buddy boy.
Come on,
they
man.
Are.
Okay, hold on. Let's get to Clemson because Key talks about Bryce Young, who right away he's not making mistakes that cost you. He's using his mobility, keeping his eyes down the field, throwing it down.
Look great.
And Alabama is rolling. And a couple years ago, like 2 years ago, I'm thinking, oh, timeout. This Alabama dynasty. The fact that, and where Saban is, this is being challenged by Clemson and Dabo right now. No, I don't think it is anymore after that. I don't think it is, guys, because once again, Alabama looks crazy good. They look better than everyone else, and Clemson loses.
Oh, I'm with you. Okay, I'm with you on how Alabama looks, but I'm not going to sit up here and call Clemson overrated because Alabama went up to another notch in what they've been able to achieve. Look, they stole Jamison Williams from our team, Ohio State. And John mentioned, I get how reloaded they are, and it's incredible to watch. But I'm not going to sit up here and say because Clemson lost in a dogfight to Georgia, it's not It's not like Georgia's offense looked incredible as well.
But Georgia
so
got D.
overrated?
Georgia's offense is never going to be good. They got D. Kirby Smart is a defensive mind. That is what he does. He runs and engineers defenses. His teams will never be an offensive juggernaut. So you're going to see a 10-0, a 13-3, a 17-14. That is the way Georgia's going to win football games.
So every team's overrated.
Well, hold up,
with
Jay.
the exception of Alabama.
I understand you're just defining overrated differently based on rankings.
You
and
had
how
three
tough
teams in the ACC conference, Jay, in the top 10.
Oh, I'm not making
three of them lost.
I'm not making excuses for North Carolina, and I'm not making excuses for Miami getting blitzed the way they did at all. I watched the Sam Howell game. He was horrible.
You had 3 teams. I said top 10. I mean top 15. You had 3 teams in the top 15 in the ACC conference. Clemson was one of the big 4 that we always talk about when we say, give us the big 4. Ohio State, Oklahoma, Clemson, Alabama. That's what we do every single year this time.
That's the point. Jay,
Clemson gave us nothing.
Like, that's the point. Like, and even let's expand that even more. It looked like we just blink, and it looked like they were ready for it to be their time because championships, head-to-head, everything. It looked like it didn't look like they had run even with Alabama and could have taken the lead as the premier college football program in the country. Would you say that this morning? Could you possibly make the argument? You can't anymore.
I can't.
But you just can't go back, and you can't go back, Jay, and almost call Max.
Oh, jeez.
No, I almost said Zubin. But Jay and Max, you can't just look at this game. We go back to last year and look at the game against Ohio State. You just have to you have to start to look at those things and start to see, okay, the shoelaces might be coming untied right now. When you go back and you start just looking at it, that's how I assess it.
Well, it is going to be interesting when we get through the ACC schedule because Clemson really doesn't play anybody until the ACC championship. But it's not like Clemson can't be in the Final Four. It's not like Clemson can't progressively get better throughout the course of the year. Also for DJU, I mean,
I think they shot theirs already. I think they done as far as
I don't think they're done.
Because if you take, for instance, if there's an Oregon or a USC that comes out of there undefeated in a one-loss Clemson team, I think those two teams in the Pac-12 will get a nod before one loss.
Let's not bring up the Pac-12. You brought up the Bruins. They're the only ones making the Pac-12 look all right now. Hold on. Heather Dinich is ready to join us. Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max is presented by Progressive Insurance. ESPN College Football senior writer Heather Dinich joins us on the Goodyear
Ask her if she thinks Clemson is
brought
overrated.
to you by Goodyear. With you for every mile on the road to greatness. Goodyear, more driven. Heather, how concerned should Clemson be this morning about missing the college football playoff?
I will answer that question with this fact, okay? No team has lost their season opener and made the college football playoff since this thing began in 2014. It's a big deal. It's significant, okay? And not only was Clemson hurt by the way they played and how they lost, but they were also hurt, guys, by Miami losing and North Carolina losing. Why? Because, as I heard you guys mention before, they have no other ranked opponents in the regular season. They need a ranked opponent to face in the ACC championship game, assuming they get there, because they've got one more shot to impress the selection committee based on this schedule. That's it. And right now, Miami and North Carolina aren't looking that great. So I certainly would not rubber stamp a one-loss ACC champ Clemson this year.
Okay, I'll follow up. We're on a little delay because Key is in LA right now. So to avoid any awkwardness, don't we usually all ask questions?
Yes.
All right, look. To avoid any awkwardness, Key brought up that maybe it's time for the college football playoff to expand in his key observations of week 1 of the college football season. Heather, that's okay with me, provided one thing. It cannot ever be more than a double elimination regular season tournament, right? Like right now, what's so interesting, and you bring it right up off the bat, if you lose game 1, it's hard to make the playoffs. That's what makes it so interesting. The entire regular season is kind of a single to double elimination-ish tournament. If you expand and you lose that, to me, you lose what's special about college football in the regular season. Your thoughts?
Well, everyone needs to temper their expectations about this thing expanding anytime soon. I promise you. I'm going to Rosemont, Illinois later this month, just outside the Big Ten offices, where they're going to meet and they're going to talk about this. And every source I have talked to has said it's highly unlikely that this thing is going to expand before the end of this contract. So let's start there. We're talking about 2025. Beyond that is when it could go to 12 or more. They're going to reassess everything. It might not be 12. Maybe it's 8, maybe it's 10. I don't know. Eventually they're going to get there, but I don't think it's going to happen for a while. But to your point, yes, one of the things that people are looking forward to is a little bit more wiggle room. But on the flip side, they could wind up scheduling more big games because they feel like they have more margin for error. So, like games like Oregon, Ohio State coming up this weekend, because they say, well, we can afford to lose more than one game, maybe we'll see more of those big-time matchups.
Heather, can the ACC recover? I mean, they had a really, really rough week. When you look at the 3 teams in the top 14 that lost in Miami, Clemson, you talk about where they were at, Florida State, Louisville, UNC. I mean, can they recover from this?
I'm going to say yes, because guys, I've been doing this for a long time. This is going to be my 14th, 15th year at ESPN covering college football, and I have seen Ohio State lose to Virginia Tech, go down 3 quarterbacks, and win the whole thing. I've seen USC be one of the best 3-loss teams in the country at the end of the day. I mean, the progress teams can make from week 1 to selection day can sometimes be phenomenal. So I'm certainly not going to write anyone off after week 1. DJ Uiagalelei is really making his first, I know he started before, but this is his year, right? Let's see how much better he gets and the players around him get. Oklahoma, let's see how much better they get. We didn't even mention them yet. So not writing anyone off yet. Everyone should improve.
Heather, when we watch Alabama and you watch a guy like Bryce Young come out and play the way he did, if you had to give me like who are your top 3 or 4 in the Heisman voting list after watching the first week of the season, where would you have him rank? Would he be number 1?
Flat out number 1. Absolutely. I mean, this kid, and I say he's a kid, right? Making his first start, he lived up to the hype. I was really impressed by a lot of the starting quarterbacks. CJ Stroud at Ohio State, I thought he got a lot of unfair criticism on Twitter. He went on the road, threw 4 touchdowns, beat Minnesota. I thought that was pretty impressive, but, you know, he's only 19. So, yeah, I think that Young, off the bat, he's got to be leading it right now.
Go, Keith.
No, I was going to say, Heather, after what LSU went through a year ago and then coming out west and playing UCLA and not looking like the LSU from 2 years ago that won the national championship, where does LSU stand right now? Like, where are they at in terms of college football?
Right now, this skinny minute, they're an afterthought. I mean, that's the reality of it. They haven't done anything since 2019. I mean, that team may have been the best team I have ever seen, period. And the downhill trajectory has been very quick. Now, that being said, is this Chip Kelly's season? Is this it? Because it started to look like he put it all together. You know, does the truth lie somewhere in between there as to how good UCLA is and the problems that LSU has? Probably. But I think what we saw from UCLA deserves a lot of credit. I mean, they played tough. That was one of the best games I've seen them play in a long time.
Heather, when you watch Ohio State play, obviously everybody talks about Bama. Oklahoma is barely able to squeeze by Tulane. Georgia had a big win over Clemson. But watching Ohio State come back in that second half behind C.J. Stroud, what did they show you? Do they have a chance to compete to be in the Final Four?
100%. I'm so excited to go to Columbus on Friday, guys, because that's a big game. I'm going to be there for it. And I have Ohio State number 2 this week ahead of Georgia. And the reason I put them there was because I thought, A, they won an extremely difficult road game, but also, B, the talent around C.J. Stroud is phenomenal. I mean, they just got so many playmakers everywhere. So, yes, I think that they've got a great chance. And Georgia's defense was outstanding. They're legit. But again, how much of that is Georgia being a 5-star defense, and how much of it was Clemson's offensive line having some real issues?
Well, Stroud was impressive, I thought, Heather, because of the way, like, you look at halftime at that game, you wouldn't be like, oh, my God. And then he took off in the second half. That says says good things.
Yeah, and, he made a mistake. He had to get out of his own head there for a little bit, but he did. And I think they've got a lot of confidence in him. And, Ohio State has just done such a good job of rebuilding, reloading. Ryan Day has just been a great coach, and they've all navigated through the pandemic and come out on the right side, at least to this point. I realize we're still in the middle of it. But, just as a program, what he's done there, once again, they're in position to contend for it all.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you, Heather.
Thanks, guys.
Good to see you. All right. Quarterback. Well, Keyshawn, I'm trying to figure out what I'm supposed to. That was ESPN college. No, we're good. The quarterback with the most pressure on him this season is what we're going to talk about coming up, guys. That's what we're going to talk about.
After the break?
Yeah, after the break. But real quick, I do think it was the end of a potential kind of era-shifting situation with Clemson and Alabama. And I do think it was up in the air. And what just happened week 1, it's weird to say that, week 1 of a season, Alabama has just put distance between itself and everybody else.
Absolutely.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I mean, watching what Nick Saban has been able to do talk about adapting. and constantly staying up. I mean, look at NIL. I mean, Bryce Young's making 7 figures.
Right.
I mean, talk about a coach adapting to a new era and sustaining success. It's incredible to watch.